Hello again, this is John.
And Geraldine.
And Ileana and Geraldine have just set up the camera system for you, and now what Geraldine and I are going to do is talk about the configurations that you want to test to make sure that the camera and the computer are configured properly. Alright, so this is your laptop, right?
Yes.
Great, this is like a laptop. We have a guide that describes everything that we're going to do, and so actually we're going to walk through the different steps of that guide. And actually I'm going to have Geraldine do the actual work while I walk through the guide. So the first step of this guide says that we need to configure and set up the camera, which is what you guys have just done. The second step is to open up VirtualDub.
I'll open up VirtualDub again.
Within VirtualDub, we want to use Capture AVI, which is underneath File. And that will basically start capturing video from the camera, and we'll be able to see it on the screen. This is what you showed Ileana before with the timestamp information and the camera working. You probably want to leave the lens cover on here so that you're not potentially messing up the chip while we're doing the camera configurations.
Okay.
And then there are two settings within VirtualDub, within the computer, that we want to test to make sure are correct. So step 3 says we want to confirm the Lagarith codec. Yeah, Lagarith.
Codec.
Yeah, so the codec is actually it's a way that the computer talks to the camera to make sure that it doesn't drop any frames. And we want to make sure we're using the codec that matches our camera. So under video, you'll be able to see at the bottom here compression. You can go to video compression and test to make sure that it says Lagarith lossless codec, which it does.
Okay, we're done.
That's good to go.
Okay.
Yep. Also, we can go into video, step 3, and check, step 4 now, and check to make sure that under video capture pin, we want capture pin to have the output size set to 640 by 480. What that is the size of the chip. Our camera happens to be a 640 by 480 chip, and so having that set to the right setting is the right thing you want to do, and we just need to make sure that that's set properly. Finally, we have now configured the VirtualDub properly. The last thing we need to do is to set the actual camera settings. So within the Malin cam, which you can see right here, on the back of the Malin cam, there are these 4 buttons, a center button and 4 arrow buttons. So I'm going to give those to you. And go ahead and press and hold down the center button.
Menu.
Yeah, so you can see that we get this menu option. Within the guide, you can see this menu is matched with what you see there, and basically we want to configure and make sure that this menu matches what you see here on the guide itself. You can use the up and down button to scroll down to different menu options, and you can use the left and right button to change them. So if you wanted to change the sense up to a different number, you could go left or right to change the sense up. In the guide, it says title should be off, which it should be. Sense up can be whatever it is, because that will change with every observing night that we run. But we want to make sure that the third section, ALC, ELC, is set to ALC, which it is. Notice that there's a period right there. Under ALC, that means that there's a submenu. So go ahead and press and hold down the center button. And that submenu should look like what we see in the guide, which is the shutter off and the level set all the way to the right. You can change again going left and right, but in this case it's set properly, so we can return back to the main menu. The next setting is BLC, and under BLC, notice that there's a period, so when you press on, which is what it should be at, there's also a submenu for area set with a period, so you can click on that as well, and you get to this really cool box in which you want to make sure that that box matches this box that we see right here. So you can change that by clicking on the center button like you're doing. And
It's like Tetris.
Yep, you can make little patterns and spell your name and do other things. But when you're done, you want to make sure that it looks like having all of these center boxes lit and all of the outer border boxes dark. And then if you press and hold down the center key, that will take you back to the main submenu with your area set, and then you can return back to the main menu. All right, so there are 4 submenus, each of these with the periods, and there are all of these settings, and basically I'm not going to go through these, but you'll see them in the guide, and you want to make sure that everything in the guide matches what you see on your screen. You can then press the exit save button to get back to the main screen for recording, and you now know that both the laptop and the camera have been configured. That's it.
Okay, how often do we have to do this?
Every single night. No, not really. So actually, these configurations should stay pretty standard from night to night, but it's good to basically on a seasonal basis, like once every 2 to 3 months, have you or one of your students or you or one of your teachers go through and check to make sure that the camera is configured properly and the computer is configured properly. And again, it's best done during the daytime when you're not cold and dark outside, but that's why we've done it here today. But we can now take this whole setup and go outside and actually do recording and observing with our telescope.
Okay.
Great. Which is what we'll do next.